All right. Greetings. Welcome at Dorsey's Resource 873. Welcome to the new channel. We're now getting ready to go live. The topic of this video, we are now officially live. The topic of this video is Admiralty is military and a maritime is law of the seas. I plan on discussing. Now, before we get into this, I'm going to give a disclaimer. This video is going to be for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. Please understand everyone's individual circumstance or situation may be different. It's up to every individual competent person to please do his or her homework and research regarding the matter being discussed. This information is not to be construed as legal advice. Any event you feel you need to seek a competent professional, it is encouraged that you do so at one's own leisure. Dorsey's Resource is not liable or responsible for anyone's misuse of the information. All rights are reserved. Keep in mind, everyone is responsible for their own commercial affairs. Please govern yourselves accordingly. I just wanted to discuss, this is kind of going back to the basics, basically about Admiralty, once again, deals with the military. Maritime deals with law of the seas. Basically, water law, they contractually removed you from the land. That's what I'm going to talk a little bit about. They basically remove you. You may say, well, Dorsey, what do you mean by that? Well, contractually, legally, many are unaware. Many are still doing business as U.S. corporate citizens under the jurisdiction of the United States corporation, the municipality, the corporations, which are under the statutes, the statutory, under the codes. Many are not operating under equity. For those that know what that means, what it refers to, by the way. And many of us have not properly placed the correct documents on the record for them to recognize. So they are continuing to egregiously violate our due process behind the scenes by not providing full disclosure, by them committing securities fraud. So many of us have acquiescence because we have not placed on the record or told them to stop or file a cease and desist. So they're going through acquiescence through our signature through the Electronic Funds Transfer Act, which they now can monetize behind the scenes, securitize behind your back, committing major securities fraud, where they're tapping into your in lingus trust, your Sestacue trust, your in lingus estate in the court system. The in lingus is the artificial being. That's what they refer to your straw man, straw name, or legal fiction. They also use that term legal person or legal fiction. Legalese is proper term is in lingus. They also refer to as a res. Res means a thing where they're moving your thing, so they capture your vessel. Vessel deals with Title 9 of the United States codes. They consider you a ship lost at sea, a thing. That's the res. They moved your res, by the way. So how they're getting away with this, they're committing major securities fraud. They're not totally being an honor. I had to explain to someone earlier, these corporations, many of them are violating due process, especially in the courts. So when they get, they secretly trick people to contract into their jurisdiction, and they know what they're doing. And by not providing people a remedy, there's always supposed to be a way out. This was confirmed what I was taught many years ago. They are supposed to provide the remedy, which they're not doing. They're not disclosing. They are in violation. Let me repeat. They are in violation. Now, I'm not going to, I don't have some of my words that I'm going to go over right now in the video. I'm not a grammatical expert. I'm not an expert when it comes to syntax grammar. So just bear with me. Understand, but from what I've read, what I've been taught, and what I have observed, many of these corporations, including the court system, they are operating in dishonor. They're being dishonorable. You know, it's funny how I hear a lot of people say they think these processes are supposed to conform when you're supposed to be in honor. Or they say agree with thy adversary, but the problem is thy adversary is using deceit, trickery, subterfuge. This is what Barton Butts talked about. So I explained on a particular Telegram room not too long ago. I was in briefly, was being asked some questions. They are not being honest, and they are being in dishonor. These major corporations and the court system, they're committing major due process violations once again. And they're doing this through our acquiescence. In some instances, we don't know, but other instances, they're actually committing securities fraud. And because they know the average person does not know how to properly enforce or have them audited by the IRS, or the correct way to do the GSA bonds to shut them down in the correct manner, which we should have been learning these types of things. If the elites, they have to provide a remedy from what I was taught by my mentor many years ago when I started learning this information. He was very well studied. I won't say his name. I have mentioned his name a long time ago in some of my videos. I want to thank him, by the way, who I used to call every day, and he explained to me many years ago how all corporations are supposed to be, keyword, supposed to be under public law. Remember, a lot of times they're dealing with the statutory side because the common law, the de jure government has been captured. I touched on earlier how there's been a debate between state powers as being their own political body versus the federal government trying to take jurisdiction over the states. The states are actually their own country, but it just depends on how they're operating, similar to how you would be operating. And understanding that if you were held in contempt of court and you would ask, that contempt has to be under civil or criminal. Civil, they have to produce a contract. If it's under criminal side, the judge, they have to produce an injured party. Who was the injured party? Because the state cannot be an injured party if they say the state of Michigan, the state of Ohio against John Doe or Jane Doe, Jane Sally Doe, or the state of New York. That state is a municipal corporation. It's a dead entity, just like your straw man. So what way, what capacity are they coming in, and you're not fully understanding or how to properly rebuttal. You get it so far, so they can't, the state is not, it can't speak. It's not, it's a political body. And so they can't produce an injured party. You see, so therefore you can't, there's not a proper contempt. You know, if they want to issue a Rule 12, equality under the law is paramount, mandatory by law. Why do they try to deny that? Try to use plausible deniability. No, equality under the law is paramount, mandatory by law. Why are you not going by your own procedures? You've been taught this, but see, these judges, these corrupt criminal gatekeepers, these, what other names? These referees, these tribunal courts are not true courts of equity. These military tribunal courts, what are they doing with that flag, that military flag in their courtroom? What military official gave them delegation of authority? Oh, they didn't want to tell you they were under the military, huh? Who gave them authority to have that flag with the gold fringe? That's like that flag that you see in a post office. Huh, Judge? Well, what military officer under Title IV of the United States Coast gave you authority to have that flag in this courtroom? I operate under common law, under equity. I don't operate under statutory law. I'm not a corporation. But I question on the record, for the record, on the record, let the record show. State, do you swear under penalty of perjury? Do you have a claim against me? Does anyone here have a claim against me? I want it stated on the record. I want you to swear under the penalty of perjury. Does anyone in this court have a claim against me? I move to have this case dismissed for lack of subject matter jurisdiction. No, I'm not impersonating the name. Are you referring to the birth certificate of state? What entity are you referring to? I'm coming in the capacity as the name holder. Huh? So I want to know up front, first of all, before we start these proceedings, before we go further, what specific venue or jurisdiction is this court? Is this a civil matter? Or is this a criminal matter? Judge, I need you to swear on the record under the penalty of perjury. On the record. What jurisdiction is this court? It's a civil matter or is this criminal? Don't they say, oh, it's interesting, all crimes are commercial? Well, you need to explain to me about why you guys are not disclosing, violating my due process, the CRIS accounts, the court registry investment system. Huh? Yeah, I know about that. Well, release to me, I'm here for settlement and closure. Release to me the bond. Open the matrix so I can see what's inside my cestacute. Huh? These are some interesting concepts, but to show you these tribunal courts, they use a lot of deceit, a lot of trickery. Judges say, "Oh, I need the whole recess." Oh, you need the whole recess all of a sudden, huh? Because you don't want to swear, you don't want to perjure yourself. Who gave you delegation of authority? Huh? I question. Not your honor, my honor. Who gave you, before we move forward with these proceedings? I don't have a contract with you. Huh? Before, until you can swear under the penalty of perjury and explain, first of all, who has a claim against me? And is this civil or criminal matter? I need you to swear on the record under the penalty of perjury, which they don't want to do. You can't be the advocate and the witness at the same time. It's either one or the other. Which one is it? And they say ignorance of the law is not acceptable. I'm not here to give legal advice. Well, equality under law is paramount and mandatory by law. Understand that. Equality under the law is paramount and mandatory by law. State on the record who has a claim against me. What venue, what's the specific venue of this court? Is it civil or is this criminal? Because I need to know. We can be here all day. I'm not playing these games. Or you move to have this case dismissed altogether. You want to settle the matter, but state right now. Okay, if you're not going to state who has a claim against me, then I move to have this case dismissed. Okay, I'm giving you opportunity. So what they're doing, many of these courts, these concepts, Admiralty is military, Ameritime is law of the seas. That flag that you see, a lot of people think is the American flag of peace. I told a friend of mine earlier today, he's more well-studied than I am, language-wise, history-wise. But I said, when it comes to redemption education, sovereignty, and I don't claim to be an expert. This is a little bit flawed, even with my language. I warned you guys, I'm not a legalese expert. I'm not an expert when it comes to syntax grammar, but these are things that I've studied, I've read, I've witnessed from mock court, individual heavy hitters years ago who were advanced. One guy was shutting the judge down so bad, she started throwing her Eastern Star distress signal, throwing her hands straight out, shaking them from side to side because he was tearing her up because he knew how to speak the language. He knew legalese very well. Yes, legalese, look up the definition. It means it's been used to replace plain English, plain talk. These courts are using trickery, deception. We should have been learning this in elementary school, middle school, civics. So we would all be on an even playing field. This is how they maintain an advantage over the general public. Because most people say, I don't want to learn that stuff, Dorsey. That's too hard. So I prefer to hire a lawyer or hire an attorney, which will ask you for your social security number. And once you give them your social security number, you say, oh, I got the lawyer to represent me. What is represent also dual meaning? They're going to represent you. And when you give them your social security number, you're now giving them power of attorney to manage or durable power of attorney to manage your estate, your substitute trust. You could have done that yourself. Why did you give them power of attorney? Now, I do understand there's things that are in depth. Sometimes you may need to do limited power of attorney in a certain capacity. But you can refuse under the Privacy Act pursuant to, in reference to, because the codes, the statutes are copywritten, in reference to the Privacy Act of 1974. You do not have to disclose your social security number. This also includes employers. But why are employers still requesting it? Why is that? Because a lot of times they're trying to act as withholding agents for the IRS, and they violated your due process because they did not provide full disclosure. Why didn't they provide full disclosure? So behind the scenes, they could go to the Treasury. They could do other things through the Electronic Funds Transfer Act, commit securities fraud, monetizing your signature and tapping into your estate without your permission, not disclosing other things to you. What? Wow, they're doing all this. Yes, this has been proven already. Listen to King Stevion's channel. So I do pay attention. There's people out there that have shown the documents. Just putting it out there. So I'm going to read real quick, see who we have in the chat. We got Abby says, Shalom, my brother Dorsey. Great to see you. Appreciate you. Chi Vegas says, peace, peace, Dorsey in chat. Abby says, back to natural law, no more corporate maritime BS. Yes. Abby says, hey, Chi. She says, back to, hey, Abe. Abe says, all these casting spells with words. Yes. They thought the sheep would never awaken from their comas. Yes, you're absolutely correct. Because when we say hello, I learned some years ago, even though many of us still have a habit, we should say greetings instead of hello, because we're casting a spell. When we say hell and oh, they tricked us when we use these words. And also remember, I was explaining to someone recently, a couple people, this English language has only been around in more recent times for the past 500 or 600 years. There's even a version of English called Old English. So there's other languages that are like parent languages that precede or predate what we know as English today, or what we speak in the modern day, even though majority of the world or a significant portion of the entire world speaks English. It's only been around for like the past 500 to 600 years. Something to keep in mind when you, like, when I get into the religious stuff, I may touch on that down the road. When I plan on deciding down the road when I'm going to do a video, it's going to be very concise and give an excellent breakdown, and you will challenge a lot of what you've been taught. It's going to be really good, really good. And then if I decide down the road, if I have a Patreon account, if I do decide that, then our Patreon members will get access to the actual files that I'm reading from, to request all that. So it'll keep me from having to send all that stuff to support the channel, show support for the cause. It's been recommended by Currency 365 and some other channels that I should start a Patreon. And I'm just not, I meant to a long time ago, but in certain regards, I've gotten older now. I was working on getting assistance. I should have back then gone and maybe contracted with third-party services that do provide assistance to content creators, influencers, micro-influencers, to help grow, help build the channel when I had the other channel that I was on. This is my newer channel, by the way. So I just wanted to do this video and explain where these concepts, many of these concepts derive from. So once again, Admiralty deals with the military. Maritime, the A is silent, even though sometimes I pronounce it Ameritime, it's really maritime. It's law of the seas, and they've combined both jurisdictions together because they consider you lost at sea, civilly dead, which is in the court system. Legalese, Latin, is for civilitor mortis. That's civil death. They have you civilly dead, lost at sea, dealing with the all caps name. That's the in lingus estate, the legal fiction. They also refer to as the legal person. With the proper legalese term is in lingus. You look up the definition. It's an artificial person, artificial being. That's the definition of in lingus. That's legalese. Because the judge can use plausible deniability and say, I don't recognize a straw man. Yes, they have a right to do that because straw man is one of those words of art, certain terms they use. Just like understand, you also have words that have dual meanings, by the way. Certain terms like understand, when you say, yes, I understand, that means that you agree, you accept the contract. In some instances, in certain instances, based on how you're operating, could be a good thing, but in many cases, it's a bad thing because you're agreeing and you're acquiescing. When you don't understand what you're agreeing to or what you're acquiescing to, then you can be tricked. You can be submerged. They use subterfuge into the deceit, whatever their agenda is, however they want to move, and then capture your trust, your state, create a constructive trust, then administer your state, your deceit in the state. Yes. So there's trickery involved, deceit. That's why they created legalese. Look up the definition. It's been used to replace plain talk, plain English. Just going over some of the basics. And another thing, so when you hire a lawyer, an attorney, they ask for a social security number. Keep in mind, if you give them that instead of a tax ID number, a trust, or you're not doing limited power of attorney or another type, or you don't have the proper DBAs file where you have standing, where you're the name holder, then another way they move in to fully capture your estate and declare you incompetent and declare you lost at sea, where they take conservatorship over you. When let's say you can appoint someone as conservator. So in a way, when you hire a lawyer, attorney, and they ask for your social, and let's say they don't necessarily always have to ask for it. You give them your driver's license. Some of you all know the driver's license years ago, when they were trying to merge the system, the different databases together, so they can have all your information and violate your due process and not provide full disclosure and use the Electronic Funds Transfer Act, committing securities fraud, so they can securitize your signature without your awareness. Yes, they merged the records with the driver's license. So I had to explain when I was applying for a so-called phone contract just to see what types of deals they had. When I was stopped at a Sam's Club by the AT&T people, and I explained to the even the boss of the salesman, the sales rep, that they're using as they're going to the treasury when I didn't want to give out my social security number. And I gave them my state tax ID number instead. Then the ladies, do you have to contact Social Security Administration because this is a state number is showing that you're deceased because you refuse to give your Social Security number. Then his associate asked for my driver's license, and I said no. And they said, no, we'll just use this for identification. I said, no, it's merged together with the SSN. So I had refused to give them. And I said, even in my address, by the way, that's another way they get you. So even when I just gave them my so-called address, but I'm not under the federal territory, non-assumptive jurisdiction, not under, or put it in brackets to take it out the federal zone. I'm not a federal employee. You know, behind the scenes, even these regular civilian jobs, they list us as federal employees, or we're contracting because of the contracts we've acquiesced into. Unequivocally, they're saying we're federal employees. Yes, we're employees for the state. Learning, you have a driver's license, you're a migrant farmer worker for the state. Wow. See this deception they're using. Everybody wants to be in the system. So, why wouldn't you want to be a U.S. corporate citizen? Why are you denying your citizenship? And I have to tell some of these ignorant folks, did you know there's a difference between expatriating and actually rescinding your social security number and all that? There's a difference. You can legally expatriate. I had to tell someone, I said, did you know about NITs and air status? When I studied with the group years ago, and I got documents notarized, I went through the common law court. I was a justice. After going through the court, we sent out our notices, our writs, a writ of mandamus, and other types of writs. I had to go over that information. I was more fluent at the time. I can't remember all that offhand. I would have to brush up, but I did go through it. And from another powerful group off the Las Vegas area, and I had NITs and air status, which means you can maintain neutral status before you decide to pick a nationality. So a lot of people don't know, it's been well hidden. You can legally expatriate, which is different from all the spookism I hear out there. I tell a friend of mine all the time, when people say, oh, you become that sovereign citizen stuff, they can deport you out the country. A lot of people speaking ignorantly because they don't know, or they're just going by spookism or what they've heard or what they thought, these preconceived notions, these urban legends. But no, there's a difference between rescinding and expatriating. I had to explain to someone immediately, and they said, oh, they were able to see the difference. So you can legally and lawfully, I should say lawfully, expatriate. which is different from if you were denying your citizenship, or when people mention that rescission is even another variation, but denying. Well, I saw an article in the Associated Press. That's something completely different. You're saying, if you're saying that you didn't want it no more, that's an entirely different process. And people just think they know what they're talking about. This stuff is meticulous on all sides. Even if you're the public side, you're not an expert. I had a friend that said he had been on the fence about this information for a number of years, and he's coming to light. He's starting to see the light now. And I tell him it gets deep. You want to remain a corporate citizen, remember, pursuant to the Trading with the Enemy Act of 1917, declare every U.S. citizen an enemy of the state. Then it was further implemented when they declared the bankruptcy and they created the Emergency War Powers Act of 1933. That solidified the Trading with the Enemy Act. Look it up. It's connected. They set this up in advance. So remember, the Federal Reserve Act was created in 1913. Not a coincidence. They met on Jekyll Island. Jekyll Island, I believe, was in the state of Georgia. Remember that? Yeah, that's where the history ties in. That's why I go over those documentaries a lot. You guys wonder sometimes, Dorsey, why you mention those documentaries all the time? Money Masters, Monopoly Man, that's boring. I don't like that. But it gives you the proper education, even understand where these wars and stuff, how they're funded, where war bonds come from. What's the association with the birth certificate? The corporate security certificate. Yeah, it's important to understand where these concepts, warehouse receipt. Why did the captain of the Port Authority have to provide what was called a certificate of manifest? The height of the ship, the weight of the ship, similar to your driver's license, that's the color of your eyes, your weight, your birth date. Water law. What if the ship flows through a canal, a bank, a river bank? What is a bank? What does a judge sit from? So a judge sits from a bench. What is a bench? So known as a river bank. Or a dock. Why do they dock the ship? Why does you get your job? They say they're going to dock your pay. Or you have a doctor. Shipping law, water law. Don't you think that's associated with maritime? They combine the jurisdiction, law of the seas. You get it. What is the flow of currency? What flows in a river? River currents. They say there's strong currents there. You see the connection? Electricity is even associated with your body. 70% of your body is made up of water. But they say also electricity as well. What flows? There's a connection. What flows through the riverbanks? Currents. What flows through the courts? What are the courts? Also banks. Where it's connected to? CRIS. What does the CRIS stand for? What is CRIS an acronym for? Court Registry Investment System. What is the Court Registry Investment System connected to? Federal Reserve. I asked someone, I gave them a hint on a call earlier before they came up with the correct answer. They were getting close. Some said the IRS. CRIS is connected to the Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve Bank. That's how they tap into your birth certificate. When they charge you, the court says they're going to charge you, charging your estate, your bond. Oh, the birth certificate estate. Yeah. You see now. Charging the birth certificate estate. Because they declared you lost at sea. Civil death, civilator mortis, which stands for civil death. Look it up. That's Latin. Civilator mortis. Civil death, civilly dead. Lost at sea. You get it? Yeah. So we need to correct on the record. I need to do this soon because I just found out when I took a court class not too long ago, when I had a notice for jury duty, which is minor, minute, but still you're supposed to respond to those things. And technically, I'm not a registered voter, so I don't know why I'm getting this crap. I think they're becoming more desperate. I also didn't fill out the census. When the census lady came and knocked on my apartment door, I ignored them. I made sure I didn't do that. I noticed the state, a lot of people in the city must have done this in the state because I heard they lost the electoral college vote as a result of it or whatever. So that means a lot of other people that are in the know. This is how we were able to tell years ago. There was a lot of sovereign people in the city. By the way, where I'm at in my jurisdiction, There's ways that they were able to tell what I was told many years ago. One of the first classes I went to, the lady there, she told us also, I forgot, she emphasized don't fill that census paperwork out. She said it was people brought up doing that. She said that, and I know my mother didn't know any better at the time. The selective service registration with the military, I never rescinded that. I need to, even though I can't be drafted, I'm at the age now. I heard they were allegedly talking about reinstating the draft. I think I'm too old, but you never know. But still, I need, if that contract is still lingering, I need to rescind that. Find out who has jurisdiction, put them on notice, delete that from your records. I'm not a statutory U.S. corporate citizen. I have my declarations filed in the legal news. After 30 days, nobody rebuts the presumption. That becomes law. Unrebutted affidavit is law. Letter returned from the news, an affidavit, ran for 30 days. No one rebuts the presumption. It becomes law. It was authenticated. Even within the state, three notaries equal a judge's court order. So I got to get that filed in the county. I need to make copies of that. They mean it to some of this simple stuff, but the job working the trials of Job has me boggled down. It's not a coincidence. I had to explain to someone. Some people get arrogant when they get, they don't have to depend on punching the clock anymore. Some people are in a better position. They have the money already, the finances. See, what it will do for me, I'm not trying to be like a Rothschild or Rockefeller where I'm trying to control people. I just want to have my rent, stuff like that paid, these tedious things. They created all of those as obstacles, roadblocks. A lot of people don't understand these microtransactions, these adhesion contracts, also known as invisible contracts. You see, they don't worry about this stuff. The elites, they also have real money, gold and silver. It's the currency of the elite. They hold the physical, or at least they know of depositories that have the actual physical on supply. Unlike the COMEX exchange that's manipulated. When it comes time to deliver the physical, will they have the supply for their customers? Remains to be seen. When the bubble starts to pop, will the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, will they be able to fulfill physical delivery requests? Whereas other entities, Sprott Asset, Northern Trust, certain depositories will be able to provide the physical, but it's still nothing like having it in your own possession immediately, where you can get access to in less than 48 hours. If an emergency happens or you need it to exchange it at a institution that acts as a private bank. Similar to if you watch that famous pawn shop show, similar, drop some jewels. Don't you think you ever wonder how coin shops operate certain ones? You ever watch that famous show? I don't know the name of it. Where that guy comes in, those people pawn different stuff. And I know you guys have seen the episodes because I talked to someone recently who told me she remembers seeing it where there's one particular episode, one guy traded back like over $100,000 worth of silver. I said, golly, if I had that much, ever accumulated that much, but you never know. There's people in different income brackets, different levels. So no telling how long, or if he inherited from his father. Sometimes people inherit stuff too. So just saying, but if that was me, I'd be trying to hold as much as that as possible, especially now what's getting ready to happen and what's already happening with the war. By the way, so before I shut things down, I'm going to read the rest of these comments. By the way, Serena Williams says, keep up the good work, Dorsey. We appreciate you. Is our treasury account connected to our birth certificate? Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you for joining us, Serena. Thank you. Appreciate you, by the way. Yes, it is. I can't think of the connection offhand. But remember, these entities, right on the Federal Reserve's website, it has a section called Treasury Management. And if you read further, it has other instructions in there. Right on these websites, even the DTC, they give you the instructions. Now you might have to create a login or username because some of these sites are getting more stricter where they want you to create a passcode because they know that people are, screen capturing or doing videos or stuff like that. I'm not selling Q-sips or none of that stuff, but there's a lot of things. If you peruse right on even bank websites, just go through and read the different products they offer. You will learn a lot. Thank you. That's a good question, though. Very good question. So yes, there is a connection to the Treasury. But remember, the Treasury is still connected to the Federal Reserve, and everything's still running through the DTC. They just are changing how they operate, dealing with moving to that QFS, quantum financial system, that new system. That's all it is. Remember, these government agencies are connected, just like the IRS. They are the accounting firm for the United States government, and the Treasury is basically their accountants, their banking side. That's why they would issue checks, refund checks. Years ago would be issued by the Treasury, but you would file the form with the IRS, Internal Revenue Service, which is the accounting agency. And then there's many different departments of the Treasury as well. So they're related to all those government entities. They're like brother, sister, they're cousin. They're all family. I don't know. People get caught up into, oh, everything's been absorbed under the Treasury. No, the Federal Reserve is still connected. They still have a website. Go to frbservices.org. FRB is an acronym for Federal Reserve Bank. They even have a section on their website that has Treasury management. What does that tell you? So some people I get where they're coming from, but it's all under the new system. These government entities, they're all family. You just have to understand how they operate. Abby says underwater. Yes. Says currency. Chi Vegas says current equals currency. Doc equals doctor. Yes. Absolutely. Thank you, Chi. Abby says all the birth certificate were held on Venice, I believe. Okay. Chi Vegas says smash that like button, push this info out there. Appreciate you, Chi. Yes. Let's get that out there. Yes. Absolutely. I'm gonna I'll try to get you in as a moderator. Put a star. Appreciate you, Chi. Abe says some said they were held at the Vatican, but Venice seems more accurate since it's off the land. Yeah, very interesting. I heard they do things overseas, or they have a supercomputer. They're holding documents and things. This is done on a worldwide level. Like Euroclear, I was telling the group earlier, that's the DTC's branch for other countries across the world. I hear even at the main DTC in New York, they're responsible for places outside the United States or maybe North America. They handle as well. But the Euroclear is like their sister parent corporation or sister brother corporation for overseas countries. Says we are the elites now. Praise Yeshua HaMashiach. Okay. Oh, thank you, Abby. That's called Pawn Stars. Yeah, if you watch that show Pawn Stars, that'll give you a hint. Just compare that with, like I said, giving you some secrets. I really shouldn't be sharing this probably if I had a Patreon, but I give you all a lot of good quality information for free. So show support to the channel. Cash at me sometimes if you appreciate the info. You don't have to, but I'm just saying, look at all the good info I'm dropping. But look, to give you a hint, check out that show Pawn Stars. The episodes he's done when those guys are selling their silverback. Think about how some coin shops operate. Just connect the pieces together. That's why some institutions I heard were not only banning coin shops, certain smaller banks, they were messing with pawn shops too. This is one of the guys said that had a coin channel, said he had talked to dealers at a coin show, and I believe it's Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, one of those places, and they said that pawn shops had reported they were having accounts shut down too because they deal with large transactions, and there was some other dealers that were explaining what's going on behind that given some reasons as to why that's happening with certain coin dealers or whatever, even though they went through a lot of the red tape, a lot of the requirements. If you follow a lot of those silver stacking channels, by the way, which I've hinted you guys a long time ago, by the way. So that's my time, folks. I didn't want to be before you that long, but I wanted to drop this video. The title of this video was, let me see if I can go find it again, was Admiralty is military and Ameritime is law of the seas. Basically, water law. They've contractually removed you from the land legally. And when you don't know which contracts and how you're operating through that Sesticute trust, you're acquiescing, agreeing unknowingly. So with acquiescence, look up the definition. you're unknowingly agreeing, but these corporations are also being a dishonor. Many cases, they're violating your due process or they're committing securities fraud. One of the two or a combination. So they're not, people try to make it like these corporations, these gatekeepers can be cruel, very vicious, and operating egregiously. And I gave examples earlier where I've had difficulty in trying to come out amongst her, to come out of this. So they know what they've done, the evil doers, to trap people within these jobs just over broke, working the trials of Job. And know damn sure well when some of us spent all that money at the seminars and we weren't funded. Yeah, if you were in my shoes, you'd be pissed off too. And you worked very hard for this. People had to get time off from their job, sweated blood, cried tears, prayed, did all that. And been patient for years. Been over a decade. Still haven't seen nothing yet. And on top of that, all the stuff my people have been through, when I talk about reparations and things, and that could have been pacified us in the meantime. We couldn't even get that. But some people were shown favoritism. They will walk right on through. But let me not touch on that. I don't want this to turn into no rant. I appreciate you guys. You know, I'm still blessed, still grateful for what I have. But I'm just saying, though. Just saying. Still grateful and blessed for what I have. But have I been through it? Well, that's my testimony. I'm here to share with you guys so you don't make some of the same mistakes I made. May the force be with us. We're going to get through this. And until next time, you guys, everyone have a blessed night, blessed evening. Take care. Abby says, I do not consent. Yes, that's part of it. Not consenting, that's critical. So until next time, may the force be with everyone. Pray for what's going on in the Middle East. Pray for peace between the Palestinians and Israelis. I'll leave you all. The marathon will continue. Legends never die. They live in our hearts. Shalom, Masalama, Arrival Dirty, Ashe, peace, deuces, I'm out.